Today on The Breakfast, INEC set to release 7,778 documents required by the Labour Party to prosecute its case challenging the outcome of the presidential election.
Also on The Breakfast, report from 2022 says
says 1.1 to 1.4 million people have glaucoma in Nigeria. What are the key lessons of the last decade of this campaign?
And don't forget, we'll also be looking through today's newspapers, analyzing the biggest stories of the day.
Welcome to Breakfast. It's a brand new day, and we're here with discussions and analysis of the issues of the day. That's what we bring you right here on The Breakfast. My name is Kofi Bartels.
And I am Messi Bopo. It's good to be back on your screen.
All right, and we implore you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the program as we have very interesting discussions and very interesting guests ahead. The pressure is getting worse, is what Gen Z would normally say. The pressure is getting worse. And that's a caption one of the news blogs and news websites put up in description to describe what exactly we're about to show you. And the first story on our top trending segment. We roll the tape, and when we come back, we'll talk about the background to that video.
You cannot change it from being Igbo. That is it. You want to know? At the end of the day, yes, I am running for re-election. And it's not other reason than the fact everything. How is it to carry the because you cannot change it from being Igbo. That is it. You want to know? At the end of the day, yes, I am running for re-election. And it's not other reason than the fact.
That caption, the pressure is getting worse. It's a Gen Z term. And that's the way, like I said, a news blog put it in describing this incident. Of course, that's Honorable Desmond Elliot, who happens to be a member of Lagos State House of Assembly representing the good people of Surulere Constituency 1. And he's filmed there. People are always with their phones these days. Desmond Elliot is here. They take their phone up and they want to film. He is filmed there asking, reaching out to his constituents at a church service. And just informing them that he's partly Igbo. His mom is from the southeastern part of Nigeria, and it's something nobody can take away from him. And pushing his credentials, maybe to appeal to those in the congregation, the congregants who may be largely Igbo speaking. And you can see they responded and reacted to what he had to say. But the background to this will not be complete if we don't tell it. Of course, Desmond Elliot has been the recipient of a public backlash following his utterances and his remarks on the floor of the Lagos State House of Assembly in the aftermath of the NSAS protests, and then the riots that followed after the NSAS protests. So this is the background. Desmond says he is running for election again. This is the third time he's going for that seat, and he is telling the congregants who are possibly members of his constituency that his mother is Igbo from the southeastern part of Nigeria.
Now, Kofi, this is actually going to speak to the fact that there might just be a disconnect with Desmond Elliot and what the people think. Now, I don't know, because you trying to say, okay, Desmond Elliot is reflecting his Igbo dialect, trying to speak in Igbo.
I'm giving the background.
No, I understand. Not you, okay.
Not my view.
No, not your view. I mean, of course, what has actually been done, you don't need to have that spoken in, black and white. I mean, you don't need that to be written in the exact sentence for you to understand what that means. So, but this is actually beyond what's going on in Nigeria. It's beyond, it's just beyond tribe. And that's what the people are failing to see, or the politicians, or those who are...
What is beyond tribe now?
So what's actually going on? It's beyond tribe. You see, the reawakening, you see the level of involvement of the people in the politics. It's not about whether you speak a certain dialect or you don't speak a certain dialect. That's actually what, is going on. Now, but, the narrative that's also been pushed out over time is that a certain tribe seem to want to, be on top of the situation. And maybe that might just be the reason why you have this, him, going out there trying to speak Igbo and say, hey, my mom is that, just to get the sympathy. But if you look at the consents of Lagosians and those who have been speaking, a lot of issues, there are too many issues. For instance, there's a bridge, I'm not sure we have that picture or we have a video of that, somewhere around Surulere or, somewhere around, there's a certain bridge that was constructed. And way back, a lot of Nigerians also remember what happened during the NSAS protests, where Nigerians took to the street across, different parts of the country, talking about ending police brutality. And the statement that, Desmond Elliot made following all of that. Now, people have moved beyond that kind of politics, whether you're from a certain region. We're not saying that that's entirely the whole fact, but if you look at it, looking at some elections, you'll find out that the tables are really turning, and it has nothing to do whether you speak a certain language or you're from a certain tribe. It feels like people are moving towards individual and their capacity or how they have performed over time. For instance, Kofi, you're very conversant with Cross River State and Calabar. A certain Esina has been in power for almost 24 years. When I say 24 years, from 1999, where he was chairman, and then after the period of being a chairman of Calabar South local government, he's
been in politics, active
he's been in active for 24 years. He was chairman of Calabar South local government, around 1999 when Donald Duke was governor. And then afterwards, he was there in power. Then he moved to the House of Reps. He's occupied that office up until 2023 when the people decided to take a different turn. What they call him is Isantam. And if you look at the meaning of Isantam, it's called hippopotamus, right? He's occupied that office. So my point is,
you don't mean to use a derogatory remark, but it's just
no, it's not derogatory. I'm not trying to say
he's an elephant. He cannot be moved, sort of.
No, that's not even derogatory. I think that word is used to to describe strength.
His strength, yes.
Yeah. So it's not in a sense to say that he's but I'm just saying that it feels like there's a disconnect. It feels like the elites or those who are vying, politicians are not getting the message that the people are moving away from tribe and where you're from, and then they're looking at you as a person, your credibility. They're looking at your person as an individual. Did you tell lies? What have you been up to? How have you treated your family? People are beginning to move from all of those rhetorics that we know about, and to the real issue, which they think. So people are not even voting along. As much as we see others, but it seems like a lot of people are voting just along what they believe. They're looking at individuals. And that's why you find out that in that particular state, look at, the governor of Cross River State. I'd like to use Cross River State as an example. Ayade wanted to go back, again to the Senate, or he wanted to go back to the Senate. He came from the Senate to become the governor. Now he wants to go back, to becoming, Senate, going back to the Senate. And the people, spoke. That's exactly what it is. So, well, I understand the narrative that's been pushed out, but it's unfortunate that those who should understand that we're in a very sensitive situation, politicians and the ruling class, that we're in a very sensitive period. There shouldn't be the one pushing the card of ethnicity, tribalism, and what have you, but unfortunately that's what's going on. And the people are speaking, and so if you have this kind of video, it probably might not say, in its real sentence, Desmond Elliot has not come out to say, hey, I'm Igbo, I have some passion. But, putting all of that out, appealing to the Igbo community and speaking the dialect might just mean that you don't understand what the people are saying. The people are not pleased with the way representation has been done over the years, how their interest has been represented. And I've cited two examples. I've used the states that we both are conversant with, and we have seen how the people have acted 2 times now. That the people decided to speak. Would you ever imagine that a sitting governor, that those who are in position of authority would be overturned, and the people would, unseat someone who has been in power for 24 years? It's a lot. And so, that's where we are, Kofi.
All right. Mercy, you've said a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. Desmond, of course, you've said that this isn't a time for people to vote for those who speak their language. People are becoming wiser and are looking for more than just that. It's a time when the people are saying, okay, well, we're not going to vote my brother or my sister anymore. I'm going to vote you for competence and that for capacity to deliver. That's true. That's true. But at the same time, I mean, we see this going on, this happening not just with Desmond. We see it happening all over the country, where we see the Igbo-speaking communities in different states of the country, and the Southeast as a zone, rising up to really get involved in this election. We've traditionally seen low votes from the Southeast. I mean, the lowest amount of number of voters in terms of geopolitical zone, you find them in the Southeast. But there's a sizable and significant Southeastern population in the local diaspora, if you want to call it that. So you go to the north, you look at places like Kano State and Sabongari. You go to places around the south, like River State. You have a sizable Southeast population. You come to Lagos State. You know, some of them are in the House of Assembly. There's even one who is a House of Representatives member. Okay, so it is, there's a sizable voting bloc. Now, politicians always appeal to bases. You know, all over the world, Mercy, politicians appeal to bases. They appeal to religious base, they appeal to ethnic base, they appeal to tribal base, they appeal to, even sexuality base. You know, you don't talk about maybe the same-sex community. They appeal to nationalistic base. Those who are right-wing, you know, those who are left-wing, they appeal to those bases. And I think it's becoming increasingly evident or clear that the Southeastern Easterners, those from the Southeastern part of Nigeria who reside in different parts of the country, are a bit more interested in this election than in previous elections. Why? Because there has been a high possibility to have a Southeasterner as president. However, it must be said, Messing, you are right, that people are voting now because, especially younger voters, because of capacity. And if you look at those who are supporting Peter Obi of the Labour Party, a sizable amount of them are not even from the Southeast. You have people from Nigeria, Southwest, South, North Central, and partly even the North supporting him. So that's absolutely true. But as a politician, what do politicians do? Politicians are always politic. You try to do everything you can to appeal. You try to do everything you can to reach out. And I personally will not blame a politician for being a politician. That being said, the backlash Desmond Elliot faced after the NSAS protests, Mercy, is something to be talked about. I've seen a lot of videos and pictures. They said Desmond Elliot has done nothing as representative of Surulere Constituency 1. He built only one wooden bridge across one. He put a picture. He built a public toilet, which isn't a bad thing if you build a public toilet. Public toilets are unnecessary. They showed it, and people lambasted Desmond. He provided hand washing basins for the COVID-19, sanitization and all that. People lambasted him. But the thing about this is that, these are all not also fair to the man, because he has done a lot more than these things as a member of the Lagos State House of Assembly representing Surulere Constituency 1. Recently, he donated 8 transformers to Surulere. What I thought was that they were donated at once. But from what I gather, they've been on this project for some time. For some time. It wasn't just in a day. He donated those transformers. Okay. So he's been on for some time. Some people said, is it because of election you're donating transformer? Yes, but from what I gather, he's been doing it over time. It wasn't. You can't install 8 transformers in one day. Okay. I also hear he's embarked on what do you call it? Health outreaches to his community. But the important thing for me is Nigerians want to see legislators do things that they can see with their eyes. But I think that is a distraction. You see, what legislators are meant to do is to offer effective representation. Okay? And there are a lot of things that come under effective representation. First of all, you're meant to protect and defend the interests of your constituents. Okay? You're also meant to interact with them to know their needs so you can push their interests on the floor of the House. You're meant to sponsor bills that will protect and promote the interests, not of your constituents, but of Lagos State in general. If you're a member of the Lagos State House of Assembly, you're meant to perform oversight function in a way that will benefit Lagos State, including your constituents. So the most important thing for a legislator is not the physical things that he brings. It is effective representation. Talking about laws, lawmaking, you're talking about passage of bills, you're talking about oversight function, okay? You're talking about lobbying. You're talking about influence, using your influence to attract development to your area. I don't need you to build a road. Okay, those are the things that they used to do. I'm compromising. I don't need you to give me effective representation that will translate to things that are more than this. So the question I'll ask for those who say, what has he done or has he built roads, is I think we should look more at the effective representation. And some will say, oh, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Gbajabiamila, who is from that constituency, has done a lot of things. Has donated cars, has donated buses. But we need to understand that, first of all, a member of the House of Assembly or House of Reps is not given any money as constituency allowance. What they do is they are allowed, probably because of their influence, to nominate constituency projects, which the government carries out. What some have accused them of doing is they always want to corner it. Some of them want to corner to their own contractors. But they're not giving any money. Okay, so for people to compare Desmond to Gbajabiamila, I think they need to understand that Gbajabiamila is the fourth citizen of Nigeria after the president. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and the access to the funds that he has or influence is greater than Desmond. So for me, Judge Desmond on effective representation. He has come up to say he's sorry, Messi. Just finally, he has come to say he's sorry for what he said, on the floor of the Lagos State House Assembly. The two things he said. First of all, he talked about those who looted stuff, shops and all that. Those pregnant women who went there. This picture is actually from that session, maybe. He also talked about youth who went to destroy things. Okay. Then he talked about those who were on social media. He called them children. Now, Desmond came out to apologize for that. It remains to be seen if that will translate to support for him. People will forgive him. Some will say that he did nothing wrong, so there was nothing for him to apologize. But finally, there's a catch here. The catch is that he has a challenger who is popular. Why? Because we watched him on screen. One of the actors from Far From Home. Now, I'm not a fan of this boy from Far From Home in the movie because his character was a bad character. But as an actor, he is a good actor. And he's also from Nollywood, which is Desmond's constituency. So it makes it a very interesting, how do I call it now? A very interesting plot that the person who is challenging you is from your constituency. And he's representing Labour Party, So that is amazing. You have a youngster, a Gen Zer, an actor who's also a Nollywood member.
Sure you can say Gen Zer. That might just be a
millennial maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Who's
yes.
in between, not a
yes.
Gen
So
Z. Because he looks,
yes.
I mean, the character that he played was that of a Gen Z, but necessarily if you look at it, is in the millennial. So
the plot is set, for that battle.
Yeah, but just before we move to the next one, for the want of time, Kofi, I think that it's within the the confines. It's within the space of the people to decide. We have spoke about what we have spoke about, and whether or not it's in the character of politicians to go about lobbying and trying to seek for whatever it is, like votes and appeal at every base, whatever opportunity they have, and that's because the people have set the tune in that way. And now the people are changing the dynamics. It's also important, to dance to the tune of the people. But for me, I think that there seemed to be a disconnect when you don't understand what the people are saying and what you are saying, because what he's saying and what the people are saying are quite different. And yes, I understand that this issue of representation, I mean, there's, as a House of Representative, a member of a House of Representative or whatever it is, your duties are quite different from what a governor should be performing. But however, at the end of the day, it's the interest of the people. And we say at the end of the day, how many legislation? I would always like to make reference to the part where we are very conversant with. We have lawmakers at the state and at the federal level. Do you know, up until now, the Calabar-Odupangi Road is a federal road? And Kofi, does it not shock you that, because if politics is about lobbying, then how many times have you had those at the federal and the state level lobbying, pushing for. You have people who are representing. Calabar Ultimatum is very critical for economic development. Unfortunately, the state is geographically located as it should be. It is nobody's fault that, that state is where it is. But you have states, like you have people who are representing at the state level and at the national level, and what have they done? You also have a neighboring state where economic activities, you find out that there's, you want to say there's a twin relationship. How far have they fared? Now, these are some of the issues that the people are speaking to. And so let the people express their concern and, let them go. The music is actually changing. I rather think that politicians should be dancing towards the tune of the people, because that's what it should be. But Kofi, quickly, the next one that's also very interesting is that the NLC is urging President Buhari and Emefiele to end the cash scarcity. Now, let's not also forget that there's also been a directive prior to the ruling that happened on the 3rd of March right here from the Supreme Court, asking that the old Naira note should be remain valid up until the 3rd of, to the end of the year. That's 31st of December. 2023. We actually waited, because when I say Nigerians, it feels like I'm excluding myself. We all were waiting to hear, even though arguments have been as to should we have waited for the NLC, to wait for the president himself or the CBN, whether as a body or as the CBN governor, to make a statement to that effect. But however, there's been a directive, from the CBN asking that, hey, there should be compliance with the Supreme Court ruling, allowing the 500 Naira and the 1,000, among others, to be a legal tender. So that's what it is. But the NLC is still, without that ruling, is saying that they're giving the federal government and its agency under it, including the CBN and other banking institutions, 7 working days to address the cash crunch. And if they fail to do so, at the expiration of 7 working days, the Congress is directing all workers in the country to stay at home. So yes, that's what the NLC is saying. And yesterday when we had a conversation, I remember asking the guests on the show if this ruling and this directive would actually earn the scarcity of the Naira. But one of the things that I have observed, Kofi, so far is that people are already collecting the old notes. So there was also some sort of withdrawal or resistance as to collecting the old 500, the 1,000 Naira note. But that's also been accepted now by, some persons who are in business rendering services and those who are also buying and selling. So it might be a plus. I really don't know if that's going to trickle down to having the cash crunch being taken off. Having cash being available. But fingers crossed, and let's see how that pans out.
All right, let's not waste out. I won't say too much on that. I'll just say let's keep our fingers crossed on that, and of course see what happens. The NLC, through its chairman Joe Ajero, seem to be stepping up to the plate. They've been quiet and silent. It's their party now that they're asking Nigerians to vote for, though they are not meant to be partisan with the funds of NLC. Okay, but the Labour Party is said to represent Labour. Okay, now when things are pinching Nigerians, the issues that are pinched, you come out. Do you only come out when it involves the welfare of workers? When we talk about the youth, we talk about police brutality and other things. What do you say? Because the NLC should be leading some of these charges, some of these things. So anyway, there's one thing they talked about, which for me is very important. The clandestine, Nicodemus increase in electricity tariffs. Nothing Judge Ajero talked about. In that statement, Nicodemously, Messi, Nigerians just woke up and realized that whatever they were paying for electricity was not sufficing. For those who use prepaid meters, it was getting finished in a matter of days. Nobody explained anything. Nobody called the people. Nobody put out a statement. Till now, Nigerians don't even know how much they're paying per kilowatt hour of electricity. It's baffling, really. Well, they've said that they won't take it again. It happens next time. But I think the NLC should have included this in the protest, because people are going through a lot with what's happening in the economy. That you load 5,000 Naira on prepaid meter and then it won't last you up to 4 days when you're even using next to nothing. So I think they should have included that in their in list of demands. But we see what happens. I think at this point, people will not mind if there's a shutdown of the country, because already, have we not shut down? Hey, when you don't have money to buy food, you don't have money to pay for your transportation, what are we doing? Anyway, the last one is that the Nigeria Railway Corporation, in reaction to the accident, very unfortunate accident that took the lives of people who were just trying to get to work. at the PWD junction rail crossing in Lagos, in Ikeja, Lagos. The Nigerian Rail Corporation is saying they're going to construct several overhead bridges at 11 level crossings in Lagos. So where the cars or vehicles normally cross, they're going to build overhead bridges. I know that some time ago they said they don't have funds to reconstruct the protective barriers at that place. You know, they don't have funds. And I wonder where they're going to get the money from to construct these bridges. It's not cheap. It's not cheap, you know. And this thing should have been done before now. Good. You know, and we should have had some of these safety devices, okay? Not just somebody waving a flag. Actually, a barrier stopping you from crossing if the train is coming. So they're complicit in all of this. Anyway.
Well, first of all, I mean, I think you have raised valid questions as to why haven't we had this before now, and it's a good development. That's on the one hand. When you talk about the funds, as long as they have the will, the funds will come out. It's not rocket science. I haven't seen any country or an economy that complains of that says, oh, we have a lot of resources. I'm yet to see, including, you know, those we look up to, the United States of America, the United Kingdom, China, Russia, Germany, just begin to mention, you know, powerful countries in the world. You ask yourself, have you ever seen, you know, a time where these persons wake up and say, hey, we have a lot of resources? So yes, I don't think that funds will be the issue. If they have the will, they will find a way to solve it. And that's still part of the issue of governance and ensuring that lives and properties are protected. It is government responsibility. They don't need to forget about that part. Whoever is responsible need to think in that direction. But Kofi, you know, also another thing that you have also mentioned, like I have highlighted, is that why haven't we thought about this? There should be all of that barriers. I mean, looking at the pictures of people having to, you know, find a way to scramble to cross, it's also a very disturbing one. Now, let's come back to town. Let's come back to, you know, normal vehicles and all of the flyovers that we have, or pedestrian bridge that we have in the cities. Now, what's the level of compliance? Over time, you find out that people do not use this you know, sometimes, so you have those who will use it and those who will not use it for several reasons. Now, those who don't use it, especially at, you know, some time of the day or whatever time of the day is, it's for security reasons. Because even you have those bridges, you have the fact that the security of the persons are also in question, where people can also be there, you know, to cause mayhem. And so most times people resort to wanting to cross when the barriers have been put in place. So I'm also wondering, even if we have the barriers put in place, would you not still have people who want to find a way to break the barriers for whatever reason, whether the accident will happen and the barriers are broken, or they'll find a way to break it and then cross using that part, you know, to cross. So I think that we should look at the reason why people, even when we have the barriers for normal vehicle pedestrians, why people are not using it. And one of the major, you know, reason or a factor that I have seen real time, and I know for sure, is the issue of security. Now, most times for the pedestrian bridge, you have people afraid for their safety and security when they are using the pedestrian bridge. And I think that government should pay attention to this, where, you know, there's no security, you don't have, I don't know if we're going to be deploying police officers. How many police officers do we really have? But those, you know, overhead bridges are not very safe. And so people are scared. Most times they don't want to use it because someone could be there just to, you know, ambush them, take their bags, take their phones, or follow them, stab them. And it could be very lonely. So yes, that's also another concern. It's a good thing that we have it, and then we progress to thinking about providing security. But that's it this morning. We have to move on because we have Kola Wale, who is joining us via phone, by the way, for Off the Press this morning. Please stay with us. Good morning.